Hey friends, hey guys. Hey, so on the live stream the other day, I talked to you guys really briefly. Do I have dirt on my face? What is happening? I talked to you guys really briefly about making a launch calendar and how I make my launch calendar. And I'm gonna show you guys, I just finished my Q3 planning and I have like my board out and stuff. So I thought I would show you kind of what I do to plan out the quarter. Now, depending on where you are in your blogging journey, this might not be like applicable to you, or you might be able to use it for yourself in a different way, planning your content. This is how I plan all my launches. The rest of the year is going to be a very heavy launch season for me. I want to launch something every month. I don't always want to do that. Like, that's not how I do things all the time. So you don't have to feel like you need to be launching something every month, because you definitely don't, trust me. My product line is just like very light at Radical Transformation Project. I'm realizing like I only have like really like 3 products that I've been selling now for years. So I really want to update my product line and create new products. So I planned it all out. So I did all this in a spreadsheet first. I'm gonna show you guys my board I made in a second that I'm gonna put up in my office. But I planned it out on a spreadsheet first. I just go month by month by month, and then I divide each month into 10-day sections. So I have beginning of the month, you know, like July beginning, July middle, July end. And I break each project up into chunks like that. So, you know, the first chunk of July might be drafting a course, and then the second chunk would be creating that course, and then I might be in the third chunk of that month, like launching something else or launching that course or whatever. But the way I do it is I start first with the launches. I take my affiliate launches because a lot of those have set dates. So if I'm doing like, you know, like I want to do the Genius Blogger Toolkit this year or something like that, where it's another company's product, I put those dates in first because those can't move. I don't get to decide when that, you know, company launches their product. You know, like I did the EBA launch last year, like that would be a launch, you know, I would put in my calendar first. So I put those launches in first. I make a list of all of the products I want to make, and then I just plug them in, and I try not to launch more than once. I don't want to sell something more than like once every 4 or 5 weeks. So then I just go through the calendar, you know, and I plug them in. And then once I have when I'm launching everything, I will go back and schedule when I'm going to create those courses, because they don't exist yet. The things I'm launching now don't exist yet. In the future, you know, I'll relaunch these to my list next year and they'll already be done and I won't have to make them. But I'm going to show you this board. Oh, hey guys. Hey. Finally online at the same time as you. How are you? I always seem to miss your lives. I know I pop on here random. I wish I was better at planning them, but you guys, I'm just so busy. I just can't put anything else on my calendar. Hold on, I'm trying to figure out how to switch my camera. I'm gonna show you guys my board. So I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this. So I have like, this is July, this is August, this is September. So this is the next quarter, right? And then these lines, it's like, this is the beginning, this is the middle, and this is the end, right? So I have all of my projects laid out like that, where it's like the month, the beginning of the month, the middle of the month, and the end of the month. And I have what project I'm gonna be working on each time, right? So I have July, and then I have August, and then I have September. And breaking it down like this just really kind of helps me keep it clear in my mind. And then I like having this board, like I think it's fun, but really the way I actually like stay organized is that I create this in Trello, right? So I have a board for, if you guys are familiar with Trello, it's vertical lists like that. So I made a list that's like July, you know, and then beginning, middle, end, and I put all the projects on that card for the beginning, a card for the middle, a card for the end, right? July, August, September. I actually have it all the way out through this whole year. So at the beginning of the year, I mapped all this out. But then, you know, obviously things change as it goes on. So then each quarter, I kind of reevaluate, go back, adjust things, look at what I want to throw out, what do I actually want to launch. Sometimes I'll like think I want to make a course, and then it's like I'm not excited about it and I don't feel like talking about that subject necessarily. So I'll switch things around. I only ever want to be making courses and selling things that I'm really excited about. So I'll adjust for excitement. You know, I put it in Trello, and then my Trello board is synced with my Google Calendar. So I go into Trello, in the calendar, I'll put the dates, like the 10-day blocks in there. So I'll give myself 10 days basically, you know, for each project. And then those dates automatically sync onto my Google Calendar. So then on Google Calendar, at the top of my calendar, it'll basically have the big project that I'm working on during that chunk. Does that make sense? So you can also do this for planning out content. I tend not to plan my content, to be honest with you. I really recommend you guys get an editorial calendar if you're having trouble being consistent, if you're having trouble posting enough. Sit down and plan out, what your blog post topics are for the week or for the month, and make an editorial calendar. So, I'm going to post this on this day, I'm going to make this podcast on this day, I'm going to talk about this or whatever. Put it all on a calendar for yourself. I have a Google Calendar that's an editorial calendar that's two separate calendars. So I have my calendar that I use for blocking my time that has when I'm working with clients and when I'm recording the podcast and when I'm creating stuff. I have my work hours in blocks, and then I have the editorial calendar on a second calendar so I can turn it on or off, and that'll just kind of have the topics and stuff. But I give myself a lot of creative kind of leeway. I don't like to be too restricted. So I kind of am more of a fly by the seat of your pants girl. I'm sure you guys get that vibe from me. I just say what I'm inspired to say. I talk about what I'm called to talk about. It's very rare that I wake up and I'm I don't have anything to say. So, and I've also been doing this, for a while now, and I post a lot. So I have a lot of practice, at doing content. And people will say to me, they're like, well, I've been blogging 2 years. And I'm like, yeah, but I post almost every day. So it's I post more than a lot of even most normal bloggers a lot of times. It depends what I'm doing, right? Once I'm doing all these launches and product creation, then the content creation will be less. But when I'm not creating products, I write a lot of blog posts and I make a lot of content. So I have a lot of practice doing that. So I don't really have to make an editorial calendar. But if you are struggling with consistency, I do recommend you do that. Sit down, map out your content for the month. It won't take you, don't spend a lot of time doing this stuff either. I feel like sometimes we will spend too much time planning, right? And it almost becomes a form of procrastination. Just sit down and bang it out. What are your topics? And one way I used to do my editorial calendar, I used to have a calendar and it was just Monday I talk about self-care, Tuesday I talk about depression, Wednesday I talk about anxiety, right? So you can give yourself categories like that, and then you can go back through, each week and think of a blog post, for Monday for self-care. And you already having those categories would kind of help me stay on topic. And then it also made sure I had a variety of content going up on the blog. So I wasn't posting about anxiety day after day after day. I was kind of rotating the content to talk about different topics. So that's how I used to do it when I used to really live and die by my editorial calendar when I first started. Now I just really kind of wing it. But the launch calendar, I find really, really helpful to map out because I need to know, what I'm launching when I'm going to create the courses. I have to have time to make the stuff before I can sell it. So having it all mapped out just kind of helps me keep it clear in my mind. And then probably towards the end of August, September, I'll start looking at the last quarter of the year and really starting to think about what products I want to make, what do I want to do, what do I want to launch, what do I want to talk about, et cetera, et cetera. And then, the end of September, I'll sit down and map out October, November, December. But this has been really helpful for me breaking the months up this way lately. You guys know I do 90-day goals. So this is how I do my 90-day goal setting. I literally go quarter by quarter. But breaking the month into beginning, middle, and end, basically 10-day chunks, has been really working for me, right? So I have a project for the beginning of July. It's the first 10 days of July. And then I have a project for the second block of July. And that's the second 10 days in July. Does that make sense? And then, I have a project for the last chunk of July. So I've been really into this time block thing daily. I have every day is blocked on my Google Calendar. I can do a Google Calendar tutorial for you guys one day if you want to see how I do it. But it's just time blocking. It's not anything fancy, right? So I just block my time every day. So I'm working on the podcast from 10 to 12 every Monday, right? And it's just reoccurring. So I have all of my time blocked like that, and that's really been helping me. But then I found blocking my project time in 10-day chunks has really been working well for me. So, and then if something bleeds over or, I give myself when I'm planning this stuff out a little bit of leeway and all of this stuff is flexible, but I do like to feel like I'm on deadline almost all the time. Like I like to work with that sense of urgency where I'm pushing and I'm working with urgency and I'm working hard and I have a sense of urgency, because I found when I first started working for myself and I had no boss and I was, in charge of my own schedule, that I can waste a lot of time because I don't have any kind of urgency. I didn't have anyone telling me what to do. And it took me a really long time to start learning how to manage my own time, because I had never had to do that before, right? I had always just had a boss telling me what to do. So this has been really helpful. I hope this gives you guys some ideas. What do you use to schedule your time blocks? I don't remember what you said, sorry. I use Google Calendar. So what I do is I go in Google Calendar, I go on the weekly view. This is how I would set it up if I were starting over. I would make a list of everything I have to get done every week. Like for me, I do, a radical transformation podcast and a podcast for faithmariah.com. And then, I do blog posts for faithmariah.com. I do blog posts for Radical Transformation Project. I do posts on Instagram. I do Facebook Live. I do Facebook content, right? I do all these things every week. So I make a list of everything I get done every week. And then I look at my week and I schedule blocks. So like 9 to 2, Monday through Thursday is blocked for clients. That's when I do client calls. And I set that as reoccurring, which is really easy to do in Google Calendar. You just check the box and it's like, okay, every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 9 to 2, it already schedules it for all the future weeks. Does that make sense? So then if I go in and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna record the podcast Monday morning, I do like a lot. My most productive block, honestly, is 6 a.m. till 9 a.m. And so, I'll be like, I'm going to record the podcast at 6 a.m. on Mondays, right? And I'll schedule that in, and then I'll check the box to make it reoccurring. So every week it populates at that same time. So once I had my schedule like that, then I have all my blocks with everything I have to get done already scheduled. And then what I do is the night before, I'll kind of look at those blocks, because things go wonky, right? It's all well and good to be like, oh, just do everything at the same time every day, make time blocks. But you guys know, that's not how the world works, right? So stuff comes up, clients need things from me, my family needs things from me, the dog gets sick, life happens, things take longer than I think, whatever. So the night before, I'll kind of look at the next day and the next week, the rest of the week, and I'll kind of move things if I need to move things. And then I have kind of a few open blocks that are just kind of they're grace time, for if things take longer or whatever, extra time. And that's how I do it. Yeah, so I just do it in Google Calendar and I just block my time. I can show you guys how to do that if you want. One day I'll just share my screen, but it's really easy. And if you just Google time blocking, it's not I didn't come up with this. It's just I saw someone else do it, right? And then I started doing it. So then now that I have this launch calendar that I made, I'll go back into my Google Calendar, and I have special blocks for product creation. So the time to make all these products is already on my calendar. Does that make sense? So for some of this stuff, I'll have to adjust the calendar a little bit, because some of them are big projects and some of them are little projects and stuff like that. But I kind of basically more or less have time carved out to make all these projects. I just had to figure out what I was going to make. So I hope that's helpful. Okay. Donna Marie, if you don't have any questions, I'm going to get off of here. I hope you guys are all well. I'm kind of tired, so sorry I'm low energy. It is also, 9:30 at night? And my allergies are driving me crazy again. I don't know what's happening. I know it's not rocket science, but I can't seem to do it because life. Yeah, scheduling has been really hard for me, honestly. Like I said, it took me a long time to be able to manage my own time and to be my own boss and to figure out what has to get done. And now I'm really pushing by the end of the year to be able to hire more staff and have more people work for me. And so that's a whole nother time management thing that I got to get under control. So I understand, I'm not naturally a scheduled person, but as my business has grown and expanded, and as things are just continually getting crazier and crazier for me, I'm finding that I have to get more and more diligent. And that's honestly when I started doing the Google time block, because I just felt totally overwhelmed. I was just so stressed all the time, and I just didn't have a clear picture of when to do things. And I would wake up and I would have this to-do list that had 30 things in it, and it just was giving me anxiety, to be honest with you. So that's when I started doing Google Calendar, and it's really been helping me just because I already have things mapped out. I know when things are going to get done. And it just helps me kind of have a plan, right? So I'm not just running around, trying to get things done at the last minute. So I totally understand not being good at scheduling, trust me. But yeah, I do like Google Calendar. I also like Google Calendar. I color code mine. So like my product creation blocks, my content creation are all one color. So like the blog writing, email writing, podcast are all like the same color. And then my client calls are all a different color, right? And then I actually schedule all my personal time on there too. I know this sounds a little nuts, but I'm just in a busy season of life. And so I literally have blocks on there that are like, go grocery shopping, meal prep, clean the house. Because if it's not on my calendar, it will 100% not get done. I have to have one of those blocks blocked out for it, or it just will not happen. So I literally put everything, for my life that has to get done on there. So then I have my like personal time. Like I have like, it's just insane. Like I literally have like time, like if I'm going to go see friends or like, go on a date or something, like all of that has to be blocked in my calendar, or I won't have time to do it because I have so much stuff to do. So, and then but I have all my personal life stuff is like, all of that stuff is blue. So I can see when I'm going to be off of work, when I'm going to be on a call with a client, when I'm going to be creating content. It's all like color coded. And so I really like that about Google Calendar. And then I like that you can set things to be reoccurring. So, like I said, I just record the podcast at the same time every week and it just populates, and then it's already on my calendar, every Monday, whatever time I'm doing it, it just automatically populates. So I really like that about it. Okay. I hope this was helpful. I hope this gives you some ideas. You don't have to do things how I do them at all, but I like seeing how people organize. So I thought maybe you guys would want to see my board, and I thought it looked cool. So I wanted to show you, but I like making the whiteboards and having them up in my office. And it's kind of fun. I like planning. It kind of makes me like inspired and excited for the quarter. It helps me stay focused. It helps me have like a clear vision. I think a lot of finding success in business is having a clear vision of what you're pushing towards. Like right now, obviously I'm trying to build out my product line. So that is a big part of what I'm doing, but your vision might be growing your email list this quarter. Like maybe you're just going to really focus on growing your email list, and you're going to make new opt-ins and you're going to make new freebies and you're going to write blog posts, whatever it is, right? Or maybe you're going to work on traffic. Right now I'm doing product creation, but it might be different for you depending on where your business is. But I do recommend like take the next 3 months, take July, August, and September and figure out what do you want to get done this quarter, and then break it up into these smaller kind of bite-sized pieces for yourself, because it really does help, right? And like I said, I like having the deadline because I like having the sense of urgency. And I can see, I don't want to get behind, because if I get behind, I have all of this other stuff, coming behind it that I need to get done. I came in late. Can you give us one more look at your boards, please? Sure. Here, hold on. Let me see if I can figure out how to flip the camera. I'm not very good at working my phone. So this is the board, right? This is my board for Q3. So this is July, this is August, this is September. And then these vertical ways, this is the beginning of the month, this is the middle of the month, this is the end of the month. So I break each month into 10-day chunks, like more or less 10 days. I break each month into thirds. So yeah, that's how I do it. I just do 3 months at a time, and then I divide each month into thirds, and then I put the projects on there that I want to do. And like I said, I'm building my product line out right now. So most of these are launches and making products, because that's what I'm focusing on. But if you wanted to do, like if you were doing opt-ins, right, you could have at the beginning of July, create all new opt-ins. And then the middle, you're going to make a bunch of blog posts like related to them, and then this one, you're going to, redo all your graphics or whatever it is you're doing, right? So that's kind of how I do it. I hope that helps. Yeah, I don't know. I like seeing how other people organize things. I always think it's interesting, but it's always interesting because everyone does things different, right? Okay. I'm exhausted, you guys. I'm going to get off of here. I hope you guys have a good night. If you have any questions about this, if you watch this later, and you want to ask me questions, obviously ask me whatever you want. I love helping you guys with your blogs, and I'm just having a lot of fun with this group lately because I love talking about blogging, but I don't ever have anybody to talk about it with. So helpful. Thank you, Faith. Okay, Shannon, I'll see you guys later. Have a good night.